Welcome back to Railroads Online, and this is episode 14 of the playthrough series. And I've done a few loads off camera so that we have enough money to buy a few of these hopper cars. Now, these things are not cheap. They're $850 each, so I'm going to only be able to buy 5 of them for the moment. And this is number 5. And give it a name and buy it. Run over here and turn the brake off. Re-rail it to the re-rail track. There we go. And I've added an extra little bit of groundworks here on the re-rail track because I was sick of being stuck and not being able to jump up, and now I can walk up there easily. So I'll ride this down if it lets me on here. And the reason why I've bought 5 is we need to get some iron ore down to the smelter so that there is products there, and I'll be able to drop something on the ground to know where to put the rail in at the cranes. Oh, we should have enough here to get going. So we'll just pop her up to speed. So we'll actually take the supply route up to the iron mine because we don't have the other side built in yet, the link between the iron mine and the smelter. And we'll take these 5 up there. Which it should be a very easy trip with only 5. Should be able to just fly up there. The hopper cars are pretty heavy and there's no chance that they'll jump off on the track if the state cars stay on there. Yes, didn't realise we'd ran out of fire. That's going to take us a while to get up to speed. I have been going around on the map using the Railroad Studio tool that FakeNeo has made, and finding the spots in the new sections that I've built that have bits of spline that don't need, and going over and correcting them. So a lot of the map has actually been corrected, and it's as simple as building over the same control points with the track, and then before you right click, delete the track that's there out from underneath, and then right click and put the spline in. But yeah, there's a few sections there where I've messed up with the building in new sections where I had not so much overlapping splines, but I'd put in a spline and then found that it wouldn't go where I wanted it to go and had to delete back and try again. And I hadn't cleaned them up yet. And it took me a couple of hours to go back over some of the sections and clean them up again. So how is our pressure going here? Seems to be going up. Get up to speed. I've nearly got that wood pile down to a height where you can actually see over it. Once it gets level with these bulkhead sides, I won't fill it past there again. Makes it easier for us to just look out the train then and see the back of the train. And we don't have to keep going to the third person view to see the back of the train. It should be lined through, ready to go up there, because on the way over I grabbed the switches as I slowly let the locomotive roll through. As it took an extra load, a full load up to the iron mine, and another 2 loads of logs then to fill the pond to be able to afford enough to only buy 5 hoppers. And I'm pretty broke again, only $360. So yeah, I need another 4,250 to buy the other 5 so that I've got a consist of 10. How's our pressure going? Not quite full. Not quite up to full pressure yet. And I did check the water, and all the driving I've been doing so far, the water usage in the game is well and truly below what it should be. Um, does this door open? Let's have a look here. There it is. I've seen her. That's cool. I'd never noticed that before. Um, Back to water usage. I've hardly used any water out of this locomotive since the first time I filled it, and we've done, I think it's 4 trips, maybe 5 trips up to the iron mine to deliver lumber and beams, and then there's a trip of cordwood, and lost count of how many trips of logs I've done with this locomotive to get the pond filled each time. So I've done a lot of trips, and I don't even think I've used a quarter of the tender, which that's well and truly under the amount of water that should be used by about 10 times. Back a few months ago, it went from being the other way where you couldn't even make it one trip and you'd be out of water, to now we can, drive all week and still have water to spare. And well, it's a similar thing with the fire. The fire lasts just that little bit too long again as well. Because if this was a real train climbing up a hill with, everything open full, you'd be throwing wood in on the fire like there was no tomorrow in a real train. And it's just, guaranteed the fire's barely even used any of it. 50%, and I only threw 5 in, so I was on about 60%. These are some things that are going to have to be looked at once the new spline updates in. The interaction between the trains and rails has changed to give us more speed and better game stability and less bandwidth for multiplayer. A lot of people are thinking that when this update comes out that it's going to make track building an absolute cinch and there'll be no way that you can possibly make bad track. And that's not going to be the case. It is still a Bezier curve spline, and you'll still need evenly spaced control points to be able to get smooth curves. Being able to get evenly placed control points, that's keeping the length of your segment the same over every piece, will be a lot easier in the new system because it has the ability to lock the track at a radius and at a set length as well. That's what we're missing at the moment in the current system, is you can't set it to a length, and you have to be very careful how far you pull the track out, and that's why I use the 9 tie segment length. But in the new system, if you're laying track freehand and you put, say, one piece in at 20 foot long and then another piece in at 50 foot long and then the next piece in at 15 foot long, you're still going to get wobbly, wonky track. And the only way that you're going to be able to fix that wobbly, wonky track is by tearing it up and putting down track with the alt lock turned on with even control point spacings. So it's not going to be a fix-all for people who don't want to take the time to place evenly spaced control points. It'll just make it easier to place evenly spaced control points. And like many people like to lay freehand, and freehand will still make wobbly track. Unless, of course, it's a single segment spline that connects between 2 points. Like in a siding yard where you've got a switch on one end and a switch on the other end, and you connect a single straight piece of track between them. It will be brilliant for that. That will be a single segment piece that's 500 metres long, or as long as you need it to be for the length of your yard. And like 500 metres is huge. That's an eighth of the length of the map, and nobody's going to have a yard that big. There's nowhere on the map where you can have a yard that long. So yes, what I've put in the tutorial series will still hold as to how to get good track laid down. Some of the steps will be reduced, like you won't need to go back and build over the section 4 times with, you know, a flat groundwork first, and then a guide track, and then the bridge work so you don't get any Z randomization, and then the finish track on top of that, and then delete it all and then snap your finished groundworks to it. You won't need to do that level of finagling to get, you know, really good track, but you will need to keep all your spline segments the same length, which is that's been the key thing. And even on level ground, you can get away with the Z randomization as long as you keep your control points the same length apart. And it's been the same way since Word Go, or when the game first came out. And a lot of the other problem is just planning where your rail's actually going to go at, which a lot of times is clearing enough trees and turning the grass off so you can see where the terrain goes. And here we go, first loads, and we can see we've got 250 of 290 in there. There's a little trick to loading these, and I'm not sure who it was that found it. I think it was either Mickley or Farmer, but if you put it down and put it up and down real quickly like this, it'll actually fill really fast. And so we've already put 6 in, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's the hopper full. You can fill hoppers ridiculously fast. It kind of makes you wish all the other cranes you could operate that quickly to get them to fill. How far have we got to go? Still more. Far enough. Yep, I've got the little piece of track at the bottom there, which lets you know where you're building at, or where you've stopped at. 2 more. There we go, this one's full. 10 of 10. Okay, I'll fill the last 3 of these off camera, and I'll see you back when they're full. And there we go, all 5 cars are full. Well, we're not going to run this back down the supply side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run over to this end, and we'll start building the line down. And well, it's mostly on the marked route down here, but some of it will be off the marked route. Anywhere where the grade doesn't match where I want to go, I will basically go around any level or over or steep sections off the side of the hill, and it actually makes for a much smoother line down here to do that than it does to actually follow exactly on the marked route. Okay, so first of all, we need to get rid of the grass so that we can actually see the ground where we're building. And we need to get rid of a few of these trees because they will interfere with us straight up, because our first couple of pieces need to be a transition. And if we remember, this bit here should be at a 1% down, and we need to build over it slightly. And yes, it is, it's a 1% down. And we actually needed to start it turning off to the side. And down another 1/4%. Down another 1/4%. We want to get it as short as that. Turn just a little bit more to the side, down another 1/4%. And down another 1/4. Let us place it. Now this is where it gets difficult, because now we're going to build backwards. Hopefully we're pointing in the right direction. One more, and now we're at the 2.5 that we want for the grade all the way down there. Now, let's try and get back up here again. And because this is going to be a problem, we're going to put a piece of groundworks in here, which gives us a nice little stairway all the way up. Oh, let me put it in. Yeah, okay, that's close enough. That'll let us get back up on top. And yes, our last segment there didn't quite go where we wanted it to. It's hard to see from when you're down on the bottom. And the last segment was 2.5, so we can come back to the middle of that and correct it. 2.5. And we want to head over that direction somewhere. Well, let us put it in, because we can put in more than one piece. Again, we'll grab another one. And 2.5. And we'll work out where it needs to go over here, because we've got to get around this. That's the full length it's going to let us place it as there, hey? So we'll put that bit in there. We'll get rid of a couple of trees out of here. And these aren't the string line I'm putting in. This is just to give me a guide to get over these two really big nasty gaps here at the start. And now we'll actually put in 2.5 down, and we'll go nice and neatly around the edge of here. Hug in here a little bit. Unless we don't hug in too tight, it'll still get us where we want to be. It looks like we can come across this way, or cut the corner a little bit to there. And they should be all right to pass through. As you can see, if we start dropping right from the end of there, we're below this section here where you normally put the level bridge across, because the level bridge normally fits across this section here in the middle. This is the marked route, and the marked route meets up with, over the other side there, at the top there's a little ledge to land on in front of me there, but we're already down way too far below that. Now we'll put another 2.5 and just a single piece out here in front. Will you let me place it in? No, it's not going to let me place it, so we're going to have to take it down to 10, which should let me place it, or it did let me place it. It did. So back up to 2.5, or we'll go to 0 and come back down to 2.5. Oh, having a day of it. Hit the right button, shall we? There we go. Click it in. Now we can run across it now that it's in. We're going to have to put another one in very similar. 1, 2, 1, 2. Over to the other side of there. And it looks like we've missed. We're going to go into the ground here, so we're going to have to come a little bit back up here. To the middle of here. And down 2.5 again. And we're going to have to go around this little section right here. And now we can go along with the wrong groundwork. We want that one with a constant. And now we can put our string line in pretty much all the way to the bottom. And we are actually below, because this is the normal route here where you'd put it through if you were following the marked route up on here. And we're one level down below it already. A nice smooth curve in there. Look at that, it only just fits up the corner of there. And now we run along this little cliff face here. Just meeting it up nicely with the edge of the hill. All the way along. We're going to have to come a little bit wider here because we've got to get out around this piece. So we'll put in a slightly longer bit to there. And I don't think we want to actually come into that. So this will be a little tiny bridge in here. Got another piece we've got to get around here. So we can follow the edge of the hill again nicely. I'm going to fall down here and I don't really want to, because it makes it harder to see when you're below it or in front of it. Oh, well and truly fell down the mountain, didn't I? Let's see if I can find a way back up. It's going to be all the way over here so I can get back up again. Let's try and get up, look at it from the top side so we can see the next point. Sometimes it's easier to put through a line of gravel first so that you've got something to climb back up again, and if you accidentally fall off, you can get back up again. This isn't working too bad. We're working down from the top to there and there. This is actually lower in the build than when I did it on the ISIS hardcore map. I'm actually closer to the, already further down lower by about this far. The track came through at about this height on his and at the same grade. Need to put one in the middle there because we need to turn back the other way here. So yes, it'll be a different route than what I put on his. And it is actually the first time I've tried to put the route down here. We won't know how good it is until we turn around and run back up it and build down it a second time. Try and smooth out some of these little sharp kinks that we don't want in it. Some of these sections will need to be little bridges. And here's the marked route again. We're still well and truly below the marked route. And only at a 2.5. Where are we going to go here? We've got to go out wide. So we'll put a curve in there. And then another one there in the middle, because we've got to come out around this bit here. Go about here. And though we still can't come in, we can get to this one. If we're too low when we get to the bottom, we'll just have to come back and do it the same way as I did it on the start the drop from after the bridge. Ooh. No, I think we're going to have to go straight across to the other side here. And this will be a big bridge. Well, let me put one in the middle. I have to put it down some. And then it'll let me put it in, and then I can lift it back up again. There we go. Little trick that if it won't let you put it down, you drop it down until it reaches the ground and then put it back up past where you need it to be and then drop it back down again to the correct height. Another point. This here is all reasonably smooth along this edge. Looks like we're coming up to another little bit of rough section here that we've got to get around. We should be able to get nearly all the way down to the bottom with a single spline. Where does 2.15 sit? Oh, we might even be able to get to a 2.25 on this route. We'll have to see when we get to the end. May have to adjust it up to a 2.25. And we'll have an even easier route to run up here, which still could be pulling the same amount of rail cars up and down. It'll be 10 hoppers. You'll be just able to go just a little bit quicker on it. Man, I'm a lot further down than what I thought I'd be. And here's the marked route again, and we're still a good 10 to 15 feet below the marked route. I'm hoping to end up on the... I think we're going to meet the target here, the way this is going in. Fingers crossed. Come out just a little bit wider here. And this is where we wanted to be. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? We have fit in here. This is exactly where I wanted it to come out at. And now we're lined here onto the mine splats. There's a big flat area here. So I'll put it up one, down one, and click it in. All right, well, I'm going to run back up it, and on the way up, I'm going to clear some trees. So I will pause the recording, and I'll see you back at the top again. And welcome back again. We're up the top, and we've got a better view of where we've gone. Now we'll build a second layer down over the top of it now. Try and get the line a little bit better all the way down there. Some of the corners were a little bit too sharp with their kinks. We'll put it on 2.5. And with this pass, we'll just smooth out some of the sharp kinks and corners. Try and get it a little bit smoother. I guess this corner here, I don't think we should dip in for that one. I can probably come up, get a better shaped bridge in here. And the other thing it allows us to do is, because we've already got a track, a run down, it'll let us snap to the top of what's already here. And this is a little bit too tight here. And come out just a little bit wider through there. Get a better line. And again, the same here, we can correct the line just a little bit. Along here is pretty good though, along this smooth bit. This here's a little bit tight. Trying to keep the segments reasonably the same length, even though we're just placing them down freehand. This isn't the finished groundworks by any stretch of the word. The corner there that we just went round may have been a little bit too tight, but we'll fix it up when we come back through with the guide track. And this is the point where we're coming past the which usually is the 10% section of If you follow on the marked route, which is impossibly steep for nearly every locomotive, unless of course you've got the climax, which will climb up that no problem at all with even a couple of cars behind it, but most of the other ones won't make it. And that's as far as we can go because we're putting in shorter segments. We'll click that one in. And start another one here. Down to 2.5. And continue all the way to the bottom. You can see because we've changed the position of where we were going a little bit, we have lifted up a bit of height. So that's not too much of a worry. We had a couple of inches we can play with at the bottom. But that corner turned out a little bit better because that was way too tight where it was. Yes, that's much smoother. I want to try and keep it to 20 degrees and less down through this section. That way we can just, even with the heavy hopper cars, we can just let it run full, no brakes, a little bit of regulator and just let it roll. And not have to worry about it coming off anywhere. I think we're about 4 inches taller than what we were. Just looking at that. One of these corners, we'll cut this one here just a little bit shorter, so there's not quite as tight of a corner into it. We didn't quite get on to the level area here, and we're still not actually on it. And what we're going to have to do on this level area is we're going to have to start a piece out here somewhere and ramp it up so that we're at a height that we want to put the track at, which about there should work. And we'll just do a little test. We'll just pull a piece out and spread it around to make sure we stay above the ground. That looks pretty good to me. And we'll just pull that over here. And just put some level sections here until we work out where we're actually stopping the downgrade. Because we can probably go quite a way back up looking at this. Oh, pardon me. About there. So we're already level from here to get a level out to the plateau up here. So yes, that's turned out very nice. Okay, well I'll see you back at the top again and we'll run a guide track down there. And welcome back again at the top. And now we're going to make a guide track down here with full length segments of track. And that's a good starting point, and we want the alt lock on because we want to have our curves nice and smooth. And we'll go with 1, 2, it's going to be 4 in the middle. Back out to a 2. the purpose of this track is to make sure that all our corners stay within our allowed radiuses, which we don't want to go over 20. Because we will snap bridge works to this, which will give us a final height of where the track needs to be on a good constant grade with no Z randomization. It's guaranteed this stone wall bounces up and down all over the place. We'll continue around here with a 5. This will make for an interesting bridge. Bridge with an S-bend in the middle of it. We want to have this somewhere to the point of where we want to have the finished track go, because the bridge is going to follow where we put it at. It does need to go somewhere close. And that's a bit of a funny corner, isn't it? That will need a little bit of a rework when we come through with the... We're going to go all the way to 20 here. This is going to be our 20 corner. Yes, it's going to need a little bit of correction there when we through with the finished track. As you can see here, even with using a 10.5 meter length of track, the amount of wobble that induces when you've got the control points spaced this far apart. And people think they're going to be building tracks easy with the new spines that are coming because they can place them at 500 meter lengths. And guaranteed, if you put two pieces down at 500 meter length, one going one way, one going the other way, you're going to get some really weird wobbles going on between the two of them, between those two curves. It's not going to do exactly what people think it's going to do. And to go around tight stuff like this, you're still going to need to use shorter pieces at about that 15-foot length of the 9-tie segment. Otherwise, you just will not have enough control point resolution to have the track go where you want it to. You'll have bits of track either through under the ground, or it'll be floating well and truly off out into the over there, instead of following neatly along the edge. Because these are 10.5 metre lengths of track I'm putting in here, or 34 feet. And you can see the wobbles that it's inducing when I change direction here. And it'll do even worse. The longer the segment gets, the worse those wobbles will become. And there's been no mention whether or not there'll be nodes in between your control points that you'll be able to push. And when it was asked, it was said no, they wasn't doing that, where the Railroads Online would have its own style of building technique and it won't be borrowing from any of the other main simulation types. It will be unique to Railroads Online, like this track building system is already unique to Railroads Online. Like, don't get me wrong, it will be an improvement. It's just not going to be the magic pixel that people think it's going to be. And well, they're going to be a little bit disappointed when they actually get their hands on the tools and it still won't do what they think it should do. And they still ended up with wobbly track. And well, I'll only have one thing to say to them when they come back and report that their track didn't lay as good as they thought it was going to, and that's go watch the tutorials. Oh, another tight corner. Go to 20 on this one. I want to ease it out just a little bit. Just going to have to go a little bit wide to get around these two. No, a little bit further. Have to come out to 0. And yes, this with what we're doing, this is one of the reasons that track doesn't snap to groundworks, because as you can see, there's no way I could have followed that ground. If I had followed that groundworks, that track would have had curves in it that would have been far too tight for the train to travel around at a decent speed. But it looked good in the groundworks. It just, didn't look good once you put the track on it, and you can see where the actual radius is with the numbers. And this is why it's, the groundwork snaps to the track and the track doesn't snap to the groundworks. Because people really would build some terrible tracks if it snapped to the groundworks. And looks like this is going to be another 20 corner. Yep. Right on the limit of where we can build. It takes a bit of concentration working out where you're going down here, if you're wondering why I'm not talking so much while I'm putting the track down. Because I'm keeping an eye on where the track's going and how far off the groundworks we're putting it and how close I'm getting, or how far the groundworks is away from the actual terrain. For some of the places we can sneak a little bit closer, like here we can sneak a little bit closer. And in some places like here, we'll need to make sure we stay nice and wide. Otherwise, we're not going to get around this next corner. We can start turning around the corner. We can go 10, I reckon. I'll put up a bit tighter in the middle. Place. Thank you. And this is the third of our big bridges we're at here. The bottom bridge. Don't want to get past there. I'm going to have to. How tight is this bridge going to be? Oh, another 20. It'll be a real interesting bridge to go around. I think we've run out of groundwork though. We are going to have to put that spline in, go back and delete a few. And we need to come at that at a better angle. And build over, not on top, but at the control points. Duplicate the track on. And we're going to need to try and keep this edge on this side. Otherwise, we're not going to make it around the corner. Without going for a sharper curve, and I don't really want to put in the sharper curve. And this is one tree. This tree wouldn't delete. I tried all over it, and it would not give me a spot where it would say, yes, you can delete this tree. It's going to have to wait until after the groundworks is removed. And this is going to be a 20 back the other way here. Will we fit it on there? Perhaps. We're going to have to stop and put a little bit of extra groundwork on here. Got it. Back the other way now. It's going to be a little bit of a twisty route. A lot more bends in it than up. It's about that height that we've come through with the one on Heiss's map, and it just there's a lot more curves in it when you get down this low than what there is up when you're up higher. More than I was expecting, actually. But that doesn't mean this isn't going to work. It'll still go in and be quite a nice track to run down. Just be a little bit more interesting than having real open corners. There'll be a couple of 20-degree corners in it. We're nearly at the bottom now. There's another 3 sections to build in this line to the smelter. There's from the smelter back up around this hill here that's still in front of us there. There's a hill there, and you build round the east side of that hill to come up at 2.5% to a bridge that crosses over the river. And then you've also got to build across this plateau at the top here to the waterfall, and then turn around at the waterfall and then head back. And basically you start dropping again at the waterfall. And on top of the mines plateau, everything's all nice and level up there. And there's room to put a yard. We'll put a passing lane up there as well. There's room to put a yard there if you need to put a yard in. And that is on the hardcore map where they have moved the sawmill to. Nearly there, a couple more turns to go. And you can see the multiple passes there. Each time I've smoothed the corner out as I've come down. And each time I've smoothed the corners out, I have gained height. Which that's okay. We had plenty of height to play with to get to the bottom, so we could smooth the corners out quite a bit. Close to the edge. Almost there. And we're nearly back down to the level area. The bell ball's slightly passing on to the level area. Because we'll know how far onto the level area we need to build when we put the steel, snap the steel bridge, tongue twister, to the control points of this guide track. Nice 10 corner, and start backing out of it. I'll head somewhere that direction. Don't want to get too far to the left, otherwise there's a big hole there. And there we go. Click it in. Better delete this ramp off the end in case we accidentally use that as a sampling point. And that's our guide track all the way to the bottom done. And the next step is to go back to the top and build the bridge down over the guide track to get a path that we can put the finish track on that doesn't have any Z randomization on it. And the guide track gives us an even control point spacing to snap the bridge to, so the bridge always follows the correct curve and the correct grade. Anyway, we're out of time for today's episode. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. and I'll catch you in the next episode.